Hello, Grace Church. I just wanted to share what I've been reading at the moment in the Bible in my quiet times. I'm reading the Gospel of Mark at the moment, and this morning I read chapter 1, verse 40 onwards. It's the story about Jesus healing the man with leprosy. This is what it says. A man with leprosy came to him, Jesus, and begged him on his knees, "If you are willing, make me clean." Jesus was indignant. He reached out his hand and touched the man. "I am willing," he said, "be clean." Immediately the leprosy left him and he was cleansed. And I was just thinking, here we are in these crazy times, locked away in our houses, and this might be the closest we ever come to really understanding what it is to have leprosy, as it so often appears in the Bible as a disease. This disease which is really infectious, affects people's skin in this case, and ultimately leaves people disfigured. But really the damage it does is just separating people from society. So nobody wants to touch somebody with leprosy for fear that they would catch it. People can't work, they can't go to the temple in this case to meet with God. So in every way, the people with leprosy would have been completely cut off from people and from God. Sound familiar? And I was just thinking that makes really Jesus' response all the more amazing. You know, when I go to see patients with respiratory disease now, I'll gown up, I'll have my mask and my gloves and my visor and anything else that they'll give me to protect myself. But Jesus, he doesn't have any protection. He's right there with that man in his situation, and he not only does that, he reaches towards him rather than running away. He reached out his hand and touched him and declares him to be clean. And I was just thinking, you know, that actually there is an infectious disease that I have right now. I don't, as far as I know, have coronavirus yet, but there is an infectious disease I have that I was born with called sin. And actually Jesus has done exactly the same for me as he did for that man. He came down and reached out his hand and made me clean. And any of us who have trusted in Jesus, we have been declared clean by him, because he died on the cross and raised to life in victory 3 days later, and has shown that he has conquered death and sin. And so I'm just grateful that actually in this kind of bizarre situation that has really come alive for me today, that I really understand what that means. And so I guess I'm encouraged because Jesus says his reaction to the man is to be indignant, to say, well, of course I want to make you clean. And so, yeah, the invitation is still there for us, isn't it? That if we want to be cleansed from our sin, the disease that really can kill us and throw us into hell, if we want to be clean from that, all we have to do is accept Jesus's healing touch, to trust in him, to say, yes, I need you, Jesus. And also just that Jesus really cares about our physical health. Jesus cares about this man's isolation through this disease and his physical health, and he reaches out and he touches him and he can make him clean. If he is the God who can overcome sin, he can overcome physical disease like this. So let's be encouraged to pray boldly for our community here, but also for the nation and the world, for God to intervene and have mercy on us, that coronavirus would be stopped and people's lives would be spared, and that his name will be glorified. And I think we can really trust that Jesus is here with us, that he's not got his protective equipment on because he doesn't need it. He is holy and he is mighty and he is bigger than all these momentary troubles. Yes, be encouraged, church.